Welcome back to the Sports Mag Zone. Bayer Leverkusen's 22-year-old Jamaica international winger Leon Bailey has been censured by the Jamaica Football Federation, the JFF, for comments he made during a recent Instagram live chat. This is what caused Bailey to be served with a cease and desist order by the JFF.
We can make it, but as I say, I say this for a year. The biggest problem we have, I'm experience it with the Federation. Them are the only people we're not going to make it. Because the team we have can make it. When me see out of my eye can make it. Me I put it out here to make you know that. If we win a reach World Cup, because of the Federation. Because we have the team we can reach. For me get to experience another World Cup there. All of the man them, may I tell you, have the will. Them want to work for reach there too. And them know it. I'm a seat in the man them. Seats them want to reach there. You get me I say? And trust me, that would be such an accomplishment.
Well, the General Secretary of the JFF, Dalton Wind, he says Bailey's comments are both unfortunate and misguided. Here's a quote from him. It is a cease and desist order because it is something that we will not be accommodating, and we are imploring everybody to stay in line and to be respectful. If you have any difficulties or concerns, bring it to the right forum and it will be discussed, deliberated, and actions taken. So don't wash your dirty linen in public. Well, joining us to discuss the matter is the agent and father of Leon Bailey, Craig Butler. Craig Butler, of course, the man behind Phoenix Academy, the nursery for the next wave or the now wave of outstanding young footballers, male and female. Craig, welcome to the Sports Mag Zone.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Excellent. Take us from well, first of all, did you know that, did you sanction the comments that Leon would have subsequently then gone and made on that Instagram live chat? Meaning, did you discuss this with him as something that you saw as a problem and then he went and just verbalized the same in that Instagram session?
Actually, no. Leon was on Instagram with a friend and speaking just generally about his feelings, about how he sees it and what he wants to say, be achieved for Jamaica. He's very passionate about what he believes we can achieve. I guess he got that from how he was raised. But I was not involved in any shape or form with guiding that conversation or that thought process.
From the perspective of a man who has a lot of experience in football administration and knowing, you know, what players can say and what they can't say, how do you view the substance of what Leon said in that Instagram session?
Well, Article 3 of the FIFA allows for freedom of speech, and it also allows for non-conflict of interest and fairness in how you address situations like this. Several players throughout history have voiced their opinion or dissatisfaction with the methodology or lack thereof of their national teams or club teams. And Leon is no stranger or individual by himself with the situation. I fully endorse what he said. I fully support him as a player. He's my client. And I do not believe that there's, in fact, I haven't seen any sanctions or letters or anything being sent to Leon Bailey, which I of course would have had to see. And therefore, I believe that maybe people spoke out of turn. You have a president on national TV saying maybe he wants his father to be coach or something. No, things like that should never be done. That's unprofessional, unethical. And as I say, it's something that you have to understand. Leon speaks for most, if not all, the national team players. He's not speaking in a vacuum by himself. If you check, there are many players who supported what he said. And the reality is, there's a lot that's being brushed underneath the table regarding the national team and how it has dealt with its players. And you must treat players in a professional way, as professionals.
But Craig, what do you understand Leon to mean when he says, I'm paraphrasing, that the JFF is the Reggae Boys' biggest obstacle?
Listen, the reality is, if you win, you take the credit for winning. If you lose, you also must take the responsibility for losing. Whatever you do, good or bad, it is going to be your responsibility. So in reality, what Leon said is nothing bad. He's saying, if we don't go to the World Cup, it's the JFF fault. Who is the JFF? If we do go to the World Cup, the JFF will jump and say happy. But at this time, I'm sure you have seen the situations with the female national team. Instances of their not being paid on time and promises being made, things like that. I don't see any much difference with the male national team.
Yeah. Craig, you said a couple of minutes ago that you have not seen any formal notification from the JFF re anything like sanctions and so on. I just want to be clear because what he said was a newspaper report. The quote that we used was from a newspaper report. So as far as you're concerned, no active move has been made up to this point for the JFF to take action against Leon on what he said. Actually,
I don't believe that it is legal for them to take any actions on him. And that was, in my opinion, a backslap, because you're putting something out in the media to state that you are, when in reality you can't, because it's not correct under FIFA statutes.
Yeah, in that Instagram discussion that Leon had, Craig, he, apart from the quotes that we just mentioned about him pointing a finger to the JFF to say if they don't qualify, it would be their fault. He also made what appeared to be some criticism of team selection and suggested that he feels that there are too many new players being introduced willy-nilly and not enough focus on getting a nucleus and focusing on one team to develop chemistry as the Jamaicans head towards World Cup qualifying. Is that a view that you share as well?
Absolutely. But to qualify what Leon said, what he said was during competition, during a qualifying process. This was in the last Gold Cup. Yeah. And no wise coach, no educated coach has teams switching every 7 players in a qualifying situation. You need team synergy, you need to prepare your team, and you need to have a system of play that all players can understand. You look at Belgium, you look at Brazil, you look at every single team that is out there that is successful in football. No coach does that in a qualifying. You can do that in the off season. You can do that when you're doing normal trainings. You can even have 3 different national teams training, which is a suggestion I made. But you cannot do that in the middle of qualifying. Yeah. How can you have synergy? Only a fool would not see the logic in that.
Yeah, Craig, one of the things that the president, Mike Ricketts, said, apart from the Dalton Wint comments that we just spoke about, he expressed huge disappointment that Leon, if he had any grouses, did not speak directly to him, because he's suggesting that he has an open door, and if there is an issue that Leon Bailey has, he should have or could have come directly to him as the president and spoken about it, as opposed to going with what turned out to be some comments that went viral on Instagram.
There are several times that Leon, myself as his manager, and have actually asked for meetings with the JFF. We actually asked for a contract with the JFF so we can know what is accepted, what is not. There is no such contract. How can you have an employee that you have no contract with? There is no agreement in terms of what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. What should you do in the public and what you should not do. There's nothing. But you want to go and attack a player because he speaks his mind based off experience. Leon is our most experienced and successful player in the last 10 years.
So you say by virtue of not having a contract, that gives you even more confidence that there can be no sanction because there's no standard of behavior that Leon has signed up to with the JFF, is what you're saying?
Correct, 100% correct.
And so, does there, to the best of your knowledge, does there even exist such a document, a code of conduct governing what national players, male or female, can say and how they can say that governs how they should conduct themselves when talking about their national team? Does there exist such a document?
I don't believe so.
All right.
Because if there is a document, it has never been presented to Leon Bailey, and anything that is presented to Leon Bailey crossed my desk.
Based on precedent, Craig, can you recall any national association, National Football Association, sanctioning a player for making critical comments of how that National Football Association is handling football matters?
No, not really. I haven't seen any that I can actually remember or recall now. What I can see is that I've seen many national team players, including Messi, state his dissatisfaction with how things are being run, with the coach, with even players.
Yes.
I'm not saying that Leon Bailey is an unhumble youth, because he's a very, very humble youth.
Yes.
And he's a very, very respectful youth. That fact is, we have asked for meetings several times in a professional way to address our concerns. And Leon has been denied those meetings with his management team.
Yes. On the point of, you said that unlike and you gave some examples, you mentioned Belgium and Brazil national teams where it's a settled core, well, not even a settled core, a settled team that coaches prepare for major championships with. And in many respects, a World Cup qualification campaign is like a major championship, but just spread over several months. You would agree, though, that the profile of the player, the average player available to Jamaica, does not fit the super professionals that the likes of Chichi at Brazil and Roberto Martinez just signed his new contract for Belgium. Those coaches can call on people who are in a super professional environment, who they are sure of, while a Jamaica coach would need to consistently and continuously be looking at players. There is only one Leon Bailey in a super professional environment, Craig. So don't you think it's a bit unfair to compare what Tapper Whitmore and his assistants have to do to pull players together to what Martinez and Chichi and Gareth Southgate can do for England?
I believe that's inaccurate, and here's why. There's not just a Leon Bailey, there's a Shamar Nicholson. There is a young low.
You would agree, though, that Shamar Nicholson's Slovenia club is a patch on what Bayer Leverkusen is as a bona fide professional club for several decades.
Shamar Nicholson's at Charleroi in Belgium playing professional football now.
So, but you would agree that Charleroi is not where Bayer Leverkusen is in terms of professionalism?
I would not say that they're not where Bayer Leverkusen is in terms of professionalism,
Yes.
because the Belgians are pretty professional and have utmost respect for their leagues and their clubs. And this is one of the things that we have to do. The fact that you're not playing in the biggest professional team does not make you any less of a professional in terms of how you should carry yourself and how you should be treated.
Yes.
And that is where the challenge is.
But Craig, let's interrogate that point a little bit more, because I want to stretch it. So Shamar Nicholson at Charleroi, a professional club in Belgium, a club of repute. Bayer Leverkusen, a club of repute in Germany. Those are two players. I'm saying if you look at a 23-man squad that Whitmore can call on, he will be calling on several players that are nowhere near the levels of those two. And I would put Leverkusen above Charleroi. You're a businessman, so you wouldn't be wanting to make those public comments because of obvious reasons, but I can. So those two are in a different category to most of the players. And I'm saying, whereas in Belgium, every player, the potential pool of Belgium players that Martinez can call on, and the potential pool of players that the Brazil coach can call on, and the French coach and the English coach, and name any other top European team, that they have a different profile from the Jamaicans. And so you can call on a 23-man squad for Belgium that you are not worried about knowing what this player can do. But Theodore Whitmore doesn't have that luxury, because where the Jamaicans play is not at the elite clubs, the super professional environments in the world.
I would again disagree, and here's why. Belgium, several years ago, instituted a system of development within to organize and develop all of these players. They started somewhere with a system. Yeah? Before Kevin De Bruyne was Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes.
Before Benteke was Benteke. They created a system of play. Yeah? You should look back 10 to 15 years ago. What happened? Belgium was not doing well. They were not great players playing. They were not qualified. I think they failed to qualify for a World Cup. And they instituted a system. That system maintained the respect, but also the development of the players. Those players grew into who they are today. They didn't change their position. In any country, the players that are doing the best in the leagues, you put them together, but you have a system that they return to. Yeah? When Kevin De Bruyne comes from Manchester City, yeah, he comes back to a system of play that Belgium plays that he
Yes.
remembers from he was a child.
Yes.
Yeah? Jamaica doesn't have that.
Yes.
And Tapa has not instituted that.
Yes.
We're still just throwing spaghetti against a wall and hoping to see what sticks.
But stick
And
up
we
in right
can't.
there, Craig. But stick up in right there, and we're continuing the point, because what I'm trying to do is to show that perhaps Theodore Whitmore is working with a different set of tools from a different book of rules compared to the coaches of other teams.
Just stick up in.
Yeah.
Kemar Lawrence, he's the best left back in the MLS.
And now in Belgium.
In Belgium
At
now.
Anderlecht, right.
Yeah,
So,
at
but
Anderlecht.
but hold on,
But we
Craig.
could keep going. Bobby
Sure.
Reed,
But hold on,
he's a
Craig.
quality
But Craig,
player
but Craig, hold on,
playing in England.
Craig, hold on.
I don't understand.
We're not at cross purposes here. Let me make the point again.
Okay.
If it is that Martinez wants to go for a wild card to play for Belgium, and we're going to compare Martinez drawing for a wild card and Whitmore drawing for a wild card. So Martinez says, you know what? I want to look again at Adnan Januzaj, the former Manchester United winger who's now at Real Sociedad. He goes for Januzaj at Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad is a middling team in La Liga. Januzaj comes. Januzaj is a super professional. Built at Manchester United, now playing professionally in Spain. Tapa Whitmore says, you know what? I want to look at Keithy Simpson, who plays for Waterhouse. Or you also look at Daniel Green from Mount Pleasant. Clearly, and no disrespect to those clubs are nowhere on the level of Real Sociedad in Spain. So it is a different kind of adaptation. And because, Craig, the bulk of the players that Theodore Whitmore can call upon are not in these super professional environments, performance levels waver. Leon has a floor which he'll not fall below because he's at a top club and he is a top player. But players of great potential who are not at super professional clubs may fall several notches below a level, necessitating Whitmore to want to have a look at them when they come from the clubs that are not professional. Hence, Craig, and this is the point of the reasoning, he may have to call on more players more often than coaches who have the best players available to call upon will do. And I'm saying, if you don't think, you should cut him some slack for that rather than be critical of the number of players he calls for qualification campaigns.
Well, first thing is, how long has Tapa Whitmore been in his position?
A while now, so he should know his way around.
Thank you. Second of all, how many how many players has he changed in a qualifying game from one to the other?
Several.
7.
Yes. Yes.
How do you do that? How can you not know who your best 11 are after being in the position? If you're in the position for 1 month, 1 year maybe. But
You give him
he's
the slack. You cut him the slack, but not
I
now.
cut him. I am one of the people that advocated for Tapa to get the job. I advocated for him to get the job. But now that he has the job, he has to do it.
Yes.
And one is, at this point, with the level of players that he has, he should be looking at a specific group and have a second team in training that he is looking at. That team doesn't get their chances end block during a qualification.
Yes.
That's not logical.
Before I go back to Lance, let me ask you this. So you're saying, I heard you say something which is very important. You're saying that the absence of a philosophy across age group levels in Jamaican football. In fact, some people would say that there's no such thing as Jamaican football because the identity doesn't exist as it exists in other countries. So a player who comes back to the national team after a period of absence is not coming back to familiarity in the way that De Bruyne does. So it makes it difficult for that player to mesh with the system. You're highlighting that, Craig, as one of the reasons that players like Leon and players like Bobby Reed and the Shamar Nicholsons of this world may have a difficulty adapting with a Reggae Boys squad that has so many players coming through, so much flux. Is that what you're saying?
No, the challenge, yes and no.
Okay.
The challenge of what I'm saying is the Bobby Reeds and the Leon Baileys and the Lows all need to be playing together regularly now. You don't have a system. So if all of us who play football, you know that if you play together regularly, you understand each other better, right?
Yes.
So if you don't have a system or you don't have something in place, then at least do that.
Yes.
My Phoenix players, yeah? We went to Leverkusen and beat Leverkusen. I'll say it publicly on the air.
Yes.
We went to Genk and beat Genk, or under 13s and under 15s. Yeah? Now those are top teams in the world of development of football.
Yes.
We have a system. We have young, we have good, strong players, and we created a system, a technical system that can be used.
Yes.
leave Phoenix alone
Yes.
and go to the Pepsi under 14 last year.
Yes.
The one who shattered the goal scoring record is Dujon Richards. He's from Phoenix. The kid who gave St. George's College their first hold on the Pepsi in 17 years is Dante Peralta. That's my stepson, right? All of them are developed. The prep school MVP comes out of Phoenix. All of them. Why not a national program
Yes.
that's developing these kids with an understanding together so that when they reach 15, 16, 17, we don't lose them to idleness?
Craig, here's what. We're going to have to break. But guess what? We're going to break and we're going to do cricket because the Ultimate 11 comes up now and some men are waiting in the wings to join this debate. This argument, this debate can't end right here. So we're going to have to ask Craig to stay with us and return after cricket for part 2 of this discussion. We're going beyond the issue of the JFF and Leon Bailey because we have to talk about some development issues because that's what the football needs, the ideas and the implementation to get it done. So fret not, folks, if you love your football, stay for the Ultimate 11, of course, but watch Craig Butler in the second half of the Sports Max Zone today. Craig, is that fine with you? I should ask you. Yeah, welcome back to the Sports Mag Zone. We did promise you to extend that discussion we were having with the Supremo at Phoenix Football Academy, Craig Butler. He is the agent and father of Leon Bailey, the Bayer Leverkusen winger, who, according to the JFF, is in hot water over comments he made in an Instagram live chat where he said that the Reggae Boys have the basic tools to get to the Qatar World Cup, but that the JFF itself is the team's biggest obstacle. And Butler says, well, there's nothing to see here, folks, because he signed nothing binding him to any code of conduct. And according to FIFA statutes, the young man did nothing wrong beyond expressing or expressing himself and exercising his right to freedom of speech. He comes back with us, Craig Butler, to finish up this discussion, and we appreciate the time he has taken from training, which is going on right now, to speak with us about this issue and others. Craig, let me ask you squarely. If it is that the JFF empanels a tribunal to look into this matter and Leon is sanctioned, whether a slap on the wrist or something more serious, something harsh, what would your advice be for him as his manager and agent?
We have already discussed it, not just as a manager and agent, but if the JFF decide to punish him for speaking what he feels and steps on his freedom of speech, he just won't play anymore. Simple.
And have you had cause to write to the JFF, consequent upon the statements in the media from the president and the general secretary, to say, well, gentlemen, clearly there, from my perspective, and I'm paraphrasing you now, there is nothing to hold Leon to. He was expressing his right to freedom of speech, and if there's any action against him, his services will no longer be available to the national team. Have you said this as a preemptive step?
Well, what we've done is it's very important that you understand that when someone puts something out in the media, out on the internet, it's for the world to see. So for us to respond to the JFF in the silence of a backroom door would not be sufficient a response. So we have prepared a press release, which we have released today just prior to this this interview.
I saw it published in the Jamaica Gleaner. Livingston Scott penned that article.
And
yes.
we immediately released it. And the final part of it was, if Jamaica doesn't want Leon, he's willing to take some time back and step back from international football.
Yeah, I seem to remember, Craig, sometime last year, I can't remember if it was early last year or middle of last year, Kimar Taxi Lawrence making some blistering comments criticizing the JFF and its handling of the players. And I remember that, I can't say that punitive action was taken against him, but there was a threat from them in the same way that there's this threat against Leon Bailey that he has breached the code of conduct. Do you remember that story? And
I do remember it very well because I was actually one of those who actually spoke with Kemar and Leon and said, listen, put country first, play the game, do the best you can, and they did. The reality of it is now you cannot it's almost have a, I remember back in the days when the US had the big stick policy, where you go around and you have a big stick and you threaten to hurt people, and therefore they just comply and bow. I don't think that's in Leon Bailey's nature. He has fought so many things in his life to get where he is that he's not going to accept disrespect from anybody.
The issue of payment, you mentioned that in the first segment we had. You said you drew the parallel between the women's national team, the Jamaican women's national team, and the fact that monies which are due to them have not been paid by the JFF. Since Leon made his Reggae Boys debut, can you tell us if he has gotten due payment from the JFF?
Leon has not received 1 penny from the JFF in the entire time that he has been there, although promises were made to the players. He has not received anything.
So I was going to ask you, is he unique in this regard, or players have not received?
And I'm speaking to my knowledge and understanding. I will not speak for Leon. I will speak as his manager and agent, which is a totally different thing. But to my knowledge, and I'm usually pretty aware of what goes on with Leon, he has not received any money at all.
And he should have been paid for the number of times he wore the national colours.
Absolutely.
Yes. Have you made representation on his behalf to say, JFF, what's happening?
JFF have not been willing to have a meeting with us about that. Remember, we've said that several times. We've asked for a contract, we've asked for a negotiation, and we have not had that opportunity. And that, I believe, is, I think what has happened is this. There was a time when players in Jamaica did not have managers, they did not have agents. They were more than glad to just put on the jersey and please just give me a game so that I can hope somebody sees me on the international case and I can get a contract somewhere. The JFF has gotten used to that. This new breed of player has taken a step forward. They all now have contracts. They all now are playing in Europe or in the MLS or somewhere, and they understand what being a professional footballer is. You have to sign to things, you agree to things, you have a code of conduct, you have a salary you're being paid, right? You can, air your opinions. You're not, where daddy's gonna come and beat you if you open your mouth and say the wrong thing. No, treat them with respect. They love their country and they're going out there and working and they're flying from Leon had to fly 13 hours one time. In economy. And it contributed to his getting his hamstring injury. Because he played right after.
How many games has he played for the senior Reggae Boys?
I believe 6 or something like that.
Right, and not a penny for any of those appearances?
Not a penny.
All right. Is it, I'm keen, when I thought about this interview and I said, how this may come across, and, Craig, because of your personality, some people may just see you on the TV and get enraged because of how you go about your business, but you're a professional, you do the thing in the way that you believe will get maximum effect. I was keen to have the discussion in a way so that Leon Bailey is not shown in a particularly bad light. And I'm not saying that I'm doing window dressing, I'm just talking about the player himself at the core. And I say that to ask you this. When he links up with the national team, is he happy? Does he enjoy being with the squad? Does he enjoy putting on the black, green and gold given the difficulties that happened before? Does he feel as if he's a part of something worthwhile?
I've never seen more joy in Leon than when he plays for the national team. I've never seen him have more fun than when he's with his teammates. They love him, he loves them. It's very lonely being in Europe, sometimes in a country where you don't even speak the language. And to have the opportunity to be around your teammates, Leon never once complained about getting money from the JFF, not even one time. He actually paid his own plane tickets to come. Yeah? And it's a kind of kid that will take up his money during this COVID-19 and send food to Cassava Peace and to Grand Spen and to feed the people of his country. Well, many would have turned their back. This is not Leon's nature. When Leon speaks, he speaks from his heart and he speaks with what he believes is correct.
When he sits down and he seeks counsel from you and you volunteer counsel to him, does he give you the impression that he believes he's part of something, a team that can achieve something great, something historic?
Of course, you should hear about how he speaks about Shamar Nicholson and say, hey, Bobby Reed, good enough. We can do it in a beef. We can do it. We can make it to the World Cup, you know.
Yeah.
He really believes it, and I'm excited about it too.
Craig, because of all of what has gone on between yourself and the JFF, because you have had a history of combat, I don't expect you to speak sympathetically of the JFF. But in any jurisdiction, wouldn't it be normal for the JFF or any organizing body or any administration to be upset if one of their employees goes public and makes them look bad? Isn't it reasonable to think that the JFF would be upset about Leon Bailey's comments?
If it is reasonable, but there's a saying in life, what you sow, so shall you reap. So if you sow iniquity, you're going to reap a response. I believe that over the years, all of my wars with the JFF has been to get Leon Bailey his chance to play for the national team and his brother. That's all my wars have ever been about.
Yes.
To give the kid his chance. While Vin Blaine was saying he's no good. While Tappa ignored him for the under-20 when he was Belgium Player of the Year in the Premier League. He was ignored when he was here in Jamaica. Tappa ignored him for the national under-20 tournament out here.
Is it a case, Craig?
Why shouldn't I fight?
Yeah, but is it a case where, given that you said you've made repeated approaches to the JFF for a meeting to talk about the non-payment, and in the broad context of things, it would be important to Leon Bailey, but you're doing a business and you need your client to be paid for standards.
Actually,
yes?
please, sorry to cut you, but it was never about payment.
No, man.
I've never asked about non-payment.
Exactly.
I've always asked about having a contract so that we understand our terms of engagement.
Very well. You've sought the JFFs, you've sought audience with the JFF as well to talk about matters concerning maybe the playing squad. And agents do that, representatives do that. That's what they do behind the scenes. I say all of that to ask, in the way that you are replying so robustly in your usual nature to this latest issue, are you seeking the JFF's attention? Are you, I don't want to say you're acting out because you're an adult, you don't do that, but are you making a lot of this to say to the JFF, listen, come and talk to me in the structured way that I've requested several times in the past, and we can settle some things rather than to be out here trading barbs about whether or not Leon Bailey should be punished for what he said.
You ever watch the movie Rambo?
Yes, sir. Which one? First Blood?
They drew First Blood. You went in the newspaper and you attacked Leon. You went on the nation's TV, radio, and said maybe he wants his father to be the president or the coach. That has nothing to do with what Leon's opinion is.
Did that hurt you?
No, it hurt Leon. That was trying to box something to the side and let people see another issue.
Why doesn't it hurt you? You expect that from the JFF?
Look, my job is Phoenix and Leon Bailey. My hope and desire is for Jamaica to have a successful, continuous, sustained run at the World Cup, which would open up opportunities for other young players, which would help our economy. It's not about the JFF.
Do you write the JFF again to ask for a meeting to settle all outstanding matters, or do you wait on them to come to you?
I will wait on them because I believe that they would need to look at what, if I were them, I would be looking at how they do their processes now and put a proper document in place where the players sign and agree to, and honor your obligations with your players, and you won't have a problem.
There you go. Craig Butler, Phoenix Academy boss, and he's the agent and father of Leon Bailey. And he says the JFF must come to its senses and deal with the thing professionally. That's the show for today. The Sportsmax Ultimate 11 continues on Thursday. We continue to look at the bowlers. We're down to 4 spinners and 6 fast bowlers, but the list ain't any easier to navigate. Bradman versus Ivy Richards on sportsmax.tv's website, Ultimate. Go there and vote. If you vote for Sir Viv will get into the team. If you vote for Don Bradman will get into the team. It's between both of them. Go and vote, 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 vote until your mouse can click no more. All right? On behalf of Lance, Craig Butler is with us. We say